Slaves helped build the White House. The work began in 1792, and it took 8 years to finish. Originally, there were plans to use workers from Europe, but when that failed, slaves were brought in. I also saw like a statistic that simply said that if we were to look at slavery and all the reparations that were owed to Black people, it would be an estimate of $14 trillion. Here's another one that slaves built, the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Took more than 30 years to build, from 1793 to 1826. Another thing that slaves built, the Statue of Freedom on top of the Capitol. It's a 19-foot bronze woman holding a sword and laurel wreath. It was made by a slave named Philip Reed. Reed was paid $1.25 a day to cast the statue. He was chosen because no one else had the skill to make a bronze statue out of a plaster cast made by Thomas Crawford. Okay? How about this one? Another thing that slaves built, the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. The Smithsonian Institution, built between 1847 and 1855, is made from red sandstone, which was quarried by slaves. It's thought the slaves were owned by Martha Washington, former President George Washington's wife. Unlike the White House and the Capitol, slaves didn't work on the actual building of the institution. How about this one? Wall Street in New York. Wall Street was named after an actual wall, which slaves built in 1653. There's also used to be a slave market in Wall Street that was one of the largest in the country in the 1700s. How about this one? Harvard Law School in Massachusetts. Harvard Law School, built in 1817, was funded by Isaac Royall Jr. Let me read this one more time. My gosh. Harvard Law School, built in 1817, was funded by Isaac Royall Jr., a slave owner. A lot of his wealth came from the African slaves he had working on sugar plantations and farms. In 2017, the school unveiled a plaque to remember the slavery money that went into the building of the law school. A plaque. A plaque. Also, there are no names for the slaves on the plaque because the identities of royal slaves are not known. Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. In 1838, Jesuit priests who were the founders of Georgetown University sold 272 slaves. It says here, and used the money, which today is worth about $3.3 million, to pay off debts and build its campus. To offset some of the damage in 2016, the university provided preferential administration to the descendants of the slaves who had been sold.